famous directors who were fired. Ordinarily, on the set, no one uses more force than the chief, whose vision as a narrator brings the unique components of filmmaking together into a cognizant, holding, moving, and, if the stars are adjusted accurately, profoundly productive masterpiece. The self-images, outbursts, erraticisms, and impact of these Hollywood heavyweights are amazing, yet they're not by any means the only force representatives in Tinsel Town. Others have inner selves similarly as enormous or bigger, have significantly more clout, and hold more noteworthy influence in the diversion business. Some are makers. Others are stars who should work for the very chiefs they restrict. At the point when such titans impact, somebody will undoubtedly fall. Luckily, a considerable lot of their annihilations, however lowering, are generally impermanent, as heads of their height and achievement are excessively significant and gifted to sideline for long. Number 1, Peter Godfrey and Joseph von Sternberg. Since both of these men coordinated various pieces of a similar film and were terminated by a similar individual, we're considering them a unit. Howard Hughes had the stars for his film arranged, Janet Leigh and John Wayne. He had his story, a Soviet covert operative deformities, flies to Alaska, is allotted an overseer whom she weds, and the Lovebirds' revisitation of Russia, from which, after a few turns, they escape for their lives. He likewise had subsidizing. The extremely rich person would back the creation of the film himself. What he required was a chief. He employed Warner Brothers. Peter Godfrey, yet terminated him in practically no time, supplanting him with Joseph von Sternberg. The abrupt chief instantly estranged the two stars and was soon likewise excused, despite the fact that he was rehired momentarily, prior to being terminated once more. Sternberg held credit for coordinating the movie, however it was really the film's third chief, Jules Fortman, who composed the content with Hughes, who at last completed the image, 17 months subsequent to shooting had initially started. Hughes was not satisfied with the outcome and would not deliver the image. When he yielded, the aeronautical innovation included in the movie was out of date, and the film lost millions. Although this whole might not have been too a lot to the very rich person, Hughes' harmed pride may well have been painful. Godfrey, himself an entertainer, had coordinated such lights as Barbara Stanwyck, Humphrey Bogart, Errol Flynn, Ida Lupino, and Mickey Rooney. Sternberg's credits incorporated a large group of movies featuring Marlene Dietrich, including The Blue Angel, 1930, and he coordinated other significant stars, for example, Gary Cooper, Cary Grant, and Cesar Romero. Only Furman, who was principally a screenwriter, needed great coordinating credits, yet neither he nor the two set-up chiefs the tycoon employed could please the lender, any longer than Hughes himself satisfied pundits or crowds with his tragic 1957 failure jet pilot. Number 2, Alex Cox. After a couple of bogus beginnings, Alex Cox had assembled a strong record for creating hit motion pictures, including Repo Man, 1984 / Sid and Nancy, 1986 / and El Patrullero, Highway Patrolman / 1991 / At that point, the opportunity to make Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 1998 / showed up. He was terminated not long after getting the work, however, and the coordinating gig went to Terry Gilliam. All things considered, the purpose behind Cox's terminating has all the earmarks of being the fight he had with Gonzo writer Hunter S. Thompson, on whose book the film was based. The contention between the chief and the creator became a self-feed for part of another film of sorts, The Narrative Breakfast with Hunter, 2003 /. It appears to be that Cox may likewise have been given the hatchet as much for his furiously free troublemaker soul and political perspective concerning any inventive contrasts he may have had with Thompson. His autonomy seems to have caused furiously free troublemaker soul when all is said and done, and from Fear and Loathing specifically. His exclusion by the Tinsel Town controls that has driven him, to an ever-increasing extent, to lean toward making motion pictures in Europe, as opposed to in Hollywood. Number 3, John Avildsen. John Avildsen, who coordinated Save the Tiger, 1973, and Rocky, 1976, which won him the year's Academy Award for Best Director, came to Saturday Night Fever, 1977, with a rundown of achievements that strongly suggested him as a chief. In any case, his contentions with the film's maker prompted Avildsen's launch from the chief's seat. As per the maker, Robert Stigwood, a villain, irritated him since he continued changing the content, needing to turn Saturday Night Fever into another Rocky. When partner maker Milt Felsen moved toward a villain about Stigwood's anxiety, the chief expressed that he simply needed a couple of changes so the film could have a playful completion. Although Felsen encouraged the villain to chill out on the grounds that he was driving Stigwood mad, a villain persevered. Before long, a while later, he was terminated. Being canned wasn't a thing new to the chief. A villain had additionally been terminated from the Stoolie, 1972, and Serpico, 1973, similarly as he'd later be booted from Kramer vs. Kramer, 1979, Space Camp, 1986, and Gone Fishing, 1996. What's more, Macaulay Culkin's dad kid would not work with a villain on Richie Rich, 1994. Autonomy in Hollywood was costly, yet a villain was eager to address the costs. Please like, share the video, and please don't forget to subscribe the channel. Number 4. Kevin's Jar. Another chief who had a mishap in his vocation because of his work on a Western film is Kevin's Jar, who was terminated from Tombstone, 1993 / featuring Kurt Russell. Various contemplations prompted Jar's excusal. The film was delayed and costs were spiraling. Entertainers hated being advised how to move and how to convey their lines. Jar appeared to experience difficulty sequencing film shots and creating rational scenes. Chiefs were not content with the dailies the film shot during specific days. The film was getting excessively long, in excess of 30 scenes must be cut. Jar, who a few group individuals, including Kurt Russell, accepted to be out of luck, wouldn't need any guidance from prepared individuals from the cast and team. Co-star Val Kilmer stated, "I had a discussion with Kevin, furthermore, stated, tune in, Kevin. It's community-oriented. Kurt's been doing this since he was 3 years of age. He understands what he's doing. Hear him out." He additionally proposed that Jar regard the guidance of different individuals from the cast and group. At long last, Kilmer and Russell cautioned the youthful chief that he was probably going to be ended in the event that he kept on demanding his direction. "It's not working," Russell told Jar, "and they will come in here and can you." When Jar demanded heading out in a different direction, maker Andrew Vina at last terminated him. "I had a discussion with Kevin, furthermore, stated, tune in, Kevin. It's community-oriented. Kurt's been doing this since he was 3 years of age. He understands what he's doing. Hear him out." Cast part Powers Booth reviewed. Number 5. Richard Thorpe. The Wizard of Oz, 1939 / featuring Judy Garland, is an exemplary melodic. However, Richard Thorpe's 14 days as the movie's chief were definitely not amicable for him or the cast. Following the principal 7-day stretch of shooting, maker Mervyn LeRoy assembled a conference. Pal Ebsen, who played the Tin Man until he found that he was sensitive to the gleaming cosmetics, reviews LeRoy's telling the gathering that the week's recording was awful, in utter disarray, and criticizing the entertainers. LeRoy himself recommended that the film and the chief were confused. "He was a magnificent person," the maker stated, "who made some fine pictures, yet Thorpe didn't get a handle on the class requirement for enthusiastic warmth. Awful." Presumably, Victor Fleming, who supplanted Thorpe, had such uncorrupt vision. The movie was named for 6 Academy Awards and won 3, albeit none were for Best Director.